Hey, find out really soon here in just a few moments what one of Marcus Lemonis' toughest challenges have been to date. Stand by.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
How great is that? Right on the chorus.
Woo. I think, I've had aspirations of being a millionaire, but I can't say I've had aspirations of being a billionaire.
Damn it, dream bigger, woman.
Gotta dream bigger, folks.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Profit after show here at AFTERBUZZ TV. And we have an exciting episode here today. But we're listening to a little billionaire music on the way to get us in the zone, to get primed for this.
Do you think Bruno Mars is a billionaire?
No.
Interesting.
But I think it's a good good thing that you asked. Close my eyes. All right, so this is actually a lazy person song masquerading as a billionaire song. It really is, because every time I close my eyes, I just see it. Yeah. All right, so welcome, and we are here to talk about The Profit with Marcus Lemonis. Awesome episode tonight. If you haven't seen it, you definitely want to do so throughout the course of the episode. Now, do you have any capability to look at your digital device and track people talking to us? Or
let's do that. We used to do that with a computer back in 2015.
Yeah, back in the day, back in the dark ages. Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to or not.
Let me get onto the Twitter feed for #The Profit.
I have yet to master being able to navigate the digital device and maintain connection at the same time.
And who are you?
Who am I?
Yes.
Who are you? No, I'm Chris Howard. You can reach me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. And so we're looking to navigate that digital domain over here. If you figure it out, great. If you don't, no problem. We'll do it at another time.
Sure.
Everybody knows who I am now. Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are you?
I am the new IT tech savvy woman.
The new breed.
I'm the new breed. No, I am Katerina Cozias. Hi, everyone. I am here today with Chris Howard from Chris Howard Live. You can find me on Twitter.
I vouch for her. She's here.
At my Twitter handle, Katerina Cozias. That's also via Instagram. Those are my two favorites, Instagram, Twitter. So do hit me up on that. You can also, of course, always catch up with me via my website, globalgab.com. That's global-gab.com, where I fill you in on top trending international headlines. But I also am your go-to girl for anything that you want to find out about what the world thinks of us here at home.
Oh.
So with these elections sort of trending around the globe.
What does the world think about me?
The world. I was going to say, nothing. I love Chris? I love you, Chris, because you've got none of that Trump narcissism in you. None of it.
All right, yeah. His narcissism trumps mine is what you're saying. Okay. And I do always like to hear a piece of global gab before we start. So what's
Absolutely.
something about...
What is trending globally right now?
Wait a second. This is new for me when you say that you tell us about how the world feels about us.
Yes, because I'm plugged in. So to talk about what's happening with the election, I mean, I was reading some articles that were out of Britain and also out of Germany, and another article from Australia. Okay. And maybe it was the writers, but they were very cynical. And they were really,
Are you kidding me? Somebody writing an article that's cynical?
And they were really just likening this year's presidential election to a reality show. And they were just saying it's not unlike the U.S. to try to, make a circus out of everything, which I found was a little bit fair, a little bit not fair, because in fairness, the U.S. has done quite a bit to be supportive of the rest of the world, in terms of humanitarian efforts, in terms of sharing economic strategies.
Though, it's kind of like, because I spent a lot of time in Australia. Yeah. We probably have Australians watching right now. Hey, Australians.
Hey, Australia.
Yeah. Oi, oi, oi. Yeah, but it's not uncommon. Oftentimes they'll look at the U.S. kind of like, want to throw stones at the bigger brother. They're going to hate me for saying that, by the way. They're going to actually... But they're like, there's a competitive type of thing,
with
and there's an arrogance about America too. We have an arrogance where we feel like everybody else lives in our shadow, and I guess that was even displayed in how I just explained it. But it's like America this, America that. They're still friends, but there's a little irritation there that happens, and it's kind of like when you go to France. They say that people in France You know, they're they say that they're snooty. Or
Right, they get snooty if you can't speak French to them.
That's the issue,
right.
is that all Americans expect everybody else to speak English rather than going over there. Because in my experience, when you make an effort to speak the language, then they're really cool people.
All right.
You know, so I don't know. I think it's just this the kind of the shadow of America imperialism.
So I don't mean to be ignoring you. I'm looking at my phone
of course
because
you do. You always ignore me.
No, I'll tell you, is I found the Twitter feed. So for anyone watching that does want to engage in conversation with us, you can do so at #TheProfit. We're following that. But my phone is on automatic lock after 30 seconds. So I'm trying to find the space where you can unlock the lock.
What kind of digital expert
and,
are you?
and it's not working. So
what you're saying is if anybody puts #TheProfit, it's going to come through our Twitter feed?
Right.
And does that come to you,
and
or
I
are you
can
looking at
follow
the
it. I'm just,
AFTERBUZZ one?
I'm just on the #TheProfit. I'm not on the @ handles.
Right. Okay, so you're just going to put #TheProfit in any tweet.
Right.
We're going to read it.
We'll read it, and we can engage with you.
And we're going to engage with you.
Right.
We're going to be engaged. All right. Now, first things first, before we get too deep here, it is important to realize that the Profit's going on hiatus for a couple of weeks. We didn't know. I didn't know this. Did you know? No, neither of us knew this.
Neither of us knew it.
We
found out tonight that we will be back with you November 15th.
November 15th.
So we're taking is it 3 or 4 week break?
We get a 3-week break.
3-week break.
Just like
We're
Howie.
Learn how
just
to
like
use
Howie.
Twitter in
just
those
like
3
Howie
weeks.
in the episode. Howie in the episode, the owner of this business takes 2 to 3 weeks off every 3 months, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we get it as well. I think he rubbed off on Marcus a little bit because Marcus says now I'm taking a 3-week break.
I need a 3-week break.
All
right. So
so let's talk about the episode. It's called Bowery Kitchen Supplies is the name of the company that Marcus goes to help out here, and it's a kitchen supply store. Now, did you see? My dear friend Katerina Cozias here was rushing to get here from her previous gig. She has one gig after another after another.
So in demand. Yeah. I'm so in demand.
So she missed just the first little piece of it.
A few minutes of it.
Yeah,
starting
but
episode,
it's not like I'm.
That's okay.
I'm not turning you in or anything. I'm just. I guess it is because we are on camera, right?
Yes,
so
you just outed me.
Outed you, yeah. No, but did you see the pictures of the Bowery Kitchen Supplies?
The before and after.
Yeah, the before pictures.
For anyone that saw this episode and saw the before and then the after photos, wow, what a mind-blowing, staggering difference in terms of the look, the feel, the organization of that particular store, which is a kitchen supply store. A
kitchen supply store. So they, the store, if you haven't seen the episode yet, they have different types of kitchen supplies.
Right.
Go figure. But they outfit both professional chefs as well as restaurants. So they do more commercial type enterprises as well as individuals, right? So you could go to this big kitchen supply store and get all the kitchen supplies that you need. But it did look like when I first saw it, it looked like one of those stores where later on they end up liquidating a lot of the
inventory.
The inventory, right? But in the beginning, it looked like one of those stores where you buy anything for $1 and you go in.
It's funny that you say that.
And it's just like shit everywhere.
Because I had that exact same thought. When I saw that before picture, I thought, geez, it looks like one of those like 99-cent stores.
Exactly, that's what I meant.
That got forgotten and they just are shoving everything in there.
Right.
And
that was exactly the impression that you got. It was like it was shoved in there, stuff all over the place, no kind of rhyme or reason, I think it is, to quote Marcus. But it was just a mess.
Yes.
And so people would have to go through the store, kind of stumble on things and find them by happenstance, I think, because they weren't categorized, they weren't sorted, they weren't ordered, there was no signage.
And I don't know about you, and I don't know about you at home, but when I walk into a store that has that sense of chaos, I sort of turn around and walk back out. I don't have the patience. I know some people do. Some people like to go in and dig through to find the deal, but I just can't. I can't do it.
That's actually, there's a name for a store, dig through for deals or something. I don't know. Dig for deals.
Dig for deals.
Dig for deals.
That's actually not bad.
There you go. If it was a 99-cent store, but it's not. It's supposed to be serving a higher level
end market.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So pretty messy. It's now the store's been in business for 20 years. So they launched in 1996. It was a couple that launched together, Howard and Robyn.
Robyn, yes.
Yeah.
So clearly someone out there is supporting this chaotic store because people are going in there and buying. I mean, if they're around for 20 years, they're around for 20 years.
Even chaotic stores deserve love.
But I think part of what allowed them to be around for 20 years was the location. So it was in Chelsea Market in New York. Now that is one of the busiest spots in the world.
That's why you have the little heart next to it.
And so I have a little heart on my notepad here saying, I love Chelsea Market, because I
saw the I love, and I'm like, oh, she's got a crush. And then I saw Chelsea Market. Yeah.
But for any of you that have been to Chelsea Market in New York, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's great. It's a great spot.
Yeah, I've never been there before.
And,
so
and I can see that it's a massively heavy traffic
area. And
it
did say, Marcus did say in the episode that they do have a lot of traffic that comes to the store. But I could imagine, like you said, I would likely walk in or walk back out if I ever walked in the first place. It just, it was obvious from the outset that it was a mess. Another really weird thing about the store was his fascination with knives.
Yeah.
Now, Howie and Robyn had been divorced, so they started the business together. It was really Howard's baby. But they ended up getting a divorce. They weren't getting along so well in the episode. This was a challenge on the business. And he has this fascination with knives, and I'm thinking in my head about the deeper level psychology. This guy must really not like being in business with his ex. Pent up anger, right?
All these knives. Well, I mean,
shit. It's a kitchen supply store, but there's a machete in there as one of the knives. It looked like he had samurai swords hanging in there.
I was going to say, maybe he's a history buff. You don't know.
Yeah, but who's he selling it to? It's a kitchen supply store. So it looked like, it looked like to me, it looked like, have you ever been to medieval times?
I love medieval times.
It looked like the armoury
in
medieval times.
Which is my favorite part of it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I love that at medieval times, but that's what people are looking for, swords and stuff to buy. To either, but I mean, this is a kitchen supply store. It looks like the armory or a garrison for a battle.
I promise I'm not ignoring you, and I'm also not. No, wait, no. I'm also not ignoring the Twitter people. I have a really cool photo. Tweet? No, wait. I have a really cool photo on this topic of knives that I want to show you.
We almost thought we had a fan, but we don't. We have a photo instead.
You keep talking.
Right.
I'm gonna scroll.
I'm gonna keep talking. Thanks.
All right.
So in any case, it looked like a garrison for a army that was about to go to battle. The store was a mess. The employees now were good. They seemed sharp. The general manager seemed sharp. The floor manager seemed very sharp. So everybody was excited, sharp. What, do you have something to add there?
No,
now?
I was going to say I agree with you. Yeah, the staff was good.
Okay, thanks.
Just want to make sure people know that I'm in,
However,
multitasking.
No, we get it. You're in a different world.
Keep going.
What are we going to say? Are you going to tweet it? Okay, where'd you get this picture?
I have a picture in my phone, folks. You probably can't see this. I don't think you can zoom in right now. But it's full of knives and swords.
Okay.
Because I kind of have a fascination with knives and swords as well.
I do too, but not in a kitchen supply store. It's like in the right place. But nonetheless, so you've got the couple now, Howie and Robyn, that are the divisive elements within the team. Because the team is relatively good. So we've got from a process perspective, we've got the store that's a mess. We've got the couple from a people perspective. Most of the team is fine, but at the top, there's divisiveness between the couple. And we've got, from the product perspective, everything's pretty good except the weird placement of the knives and the weird focus on the knives. So Marcus comes in. And he asks them what's going on. Tell us a little bit about the store. Apparently, what begins to come out is that Howie takes vacations, takes holidays, and it's kind of interesting because I remember seeing the commercial for this.
Okay.
And Howie takes a holiday. It takes 2 weeks. I think he said 2 weeks every 3 months.
Okay.
What do you think about this? Marcus had a big issue with this. I want to know what you think.
2 weeks every 3 months. That's a lot. That comes down to about 8 weeks of time.
Right. So that's how Marcus qualified it. He said, so you're taking 2 months off a year as a business owner, and this is a good topic for debate. So what's your real, honest to God, dig into your heart, your soul, and tell me what you think about that.
You know what? To be very honest with you, I believe that there is more to life than just making money.
Okay.
So I'm a big proponent of a work-life balance. I believe if you have built a successful business that can run on its own merit and you have put the team and the processes in place and you trust that team and process, I don't see a problem if you want to take time off. You may not be after the extra $100,000 a year that you could generate by being present.
Right.
You may prefer to take that time and dream, sit on a beach, do what you want to do. What I have an issue with is when you have a failing business and you proceed to continue to take 2 months off a year. That
Right.
becomes a problem.
That becomes denial,
Right.
really. I see.
Yeah.
Now the thing is that because I would have to differ with Marcus in my view of this, which I don't
Interesting. Okay.
often. Yeah,
Okay.
Because 2 months off a year. I mean, if he's able to do it, fantastic.
Why
I mean,
not,
what's life about?
And that's exactly my point. You and I are on the same page on this
Right.
one. And it's interesting because bringing it back to global gab for a moment,
Yep.
most of the rest of the world is a lot more lenient with respect to time off
Right.
than the U.S. is.
Right.
And you see this in France. I mean, you are mandated to take 6 weeks off a year. You're given 6 weeks paid vacation. And in the U.S., you can work for 15 years and still be on a 2-week vacation.
Right.
So I think it's, the Americans work a little too hard, and I don't see them that much further ahead at the end of the day, at least not in terms of happiness
happy
or health
or fulfilled or healthy
any of that. So
now but from Marcus's perspective, now to turn it over to the other side, from an investor's perspective who's coming in and wants to put their money in the business, to find out that the person's taking 2 months off a year, that might be a little jarring from that perspective.
From an investor perspective, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be like, well, wait a second, this is a person who's not fully committed to the business. Why the hell do I want to put my money there if this person is, acting as if they're on a permanent vacation? Yeah, so I get Marcus's perspective. However, from a business owner perspective / investor perspective, from that perspective, I don't mean an outside investor. I mean
right. Yeah,
you as the investor.
Well, and he went in as an equity partner.
Right. You as the investor in your own business, I think the ideal would be to get to the point where your business runs itself.
Sure,
and your
absolutely. That's what we're all
yeah.
striving for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Now, having said that, to your point, which is really valid, if the business is a struggling business, then we've got a problem.
And what was telling for me as well is the fact that clearly Howard wasn't in love with this business. I think if he was, and he really had a passion and lived and breathed kitchen supply-ware,
right,
he would by nature want to be present because that would be his happy place.
Right.
This clearly was not his happy place.
Go to your happy place, Peter.
Go to your happy place.
Think happy thoughts. that's
how you
some fly.
Fairy dust on you
right?
now.
That's
exactly.
How you fly, right?
Come on, we know that.
But yeah, no, what you're saying is, I agree 100% that if he's passionate about something, he's going to want to. I mean, you look at a guy like Warren Buffett,
right,
who's still working at Berkshire Hathaway, and there's no wonder why he's so rich. But then, to each their own. If Howie has built this business and he's been in it for 20 years, that doesn't just happen by luck. One thing he probably is passionate about are
the knives. Yeah, and I almost wonder if he built the entire business around his love of knives to start with.
I think the knives came up at the time of the divorce. I'm just saying, it's like pent up frustration.
I want to hit on this divorce issue for just a moment because the relationship between Howard and his wife Robyn was pretty dismal at the beginning. They were 50-50 partners in this business. So
now, Howie actually started it, and he gave her 50%.
That was part of the divorce settlement.
It happened before the divorce.
Oh, I missed this part. Interesting.
I believe,
Okay, so back when he loved her, he gave her 50%
exactly.
of the business.
The moral of the story is, don't fall in love.
And if you do, don't give your business away.
Don't give your shit away. Yeah.
But what I'm wondering is whether or not part of his driver for being away from the business for so long was just his need to mentally eject from confrontation.
If you started, he started to disappear?
Every 3 months, right.
See, I think that's just him. It's a lifestyle choice, and as you're building a business, it can be a bitch. It's tough. It's hard. It's a tough world, and you start to build it up. For me, needing 2 weeks out, like that's what my old philosophy was. If I'm going to go like an Olympic athlete, and I'm going to perform at that level, then I need to also take care of myself in ways that allow me to continue to perform that way. Now, he didn't look like your typical gold medalist. But he may have been, that we go through stages in life where we're pouring more energy in different ways, and maybe he had poured a lot of energy in, and he got to a point where he's like, okay,
I need to recharge my battery,
I need to live a little bit differently.
Sure, yeah, and I respect that as well. I think you and I are on the same page on that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Because, and you know what, honestly, I think Marcus actually would have respected that if it was laid out up front. And I could be just mind reading that and be totally off base. But I've seen Marcus work with businesses before where the business owners were clearly not going to be the ones that were working in the day-to-day operations of the business. And if Howie had come into it in that way, where he said, you know what, I want to be a business owner.
Right, I've got my floor manager in place. I've got my partner in place. Everything is in place. I think you're right. I think Marcus would have been more receptive to it.
He would have gotten
had it been delivered that way. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's, and there's something to learn about how we frame things up front. You know, to Howie's credit, he was holding his space and saying, no, that's the way I like to do it. That's the way I like to live my life. And, you know, by the end of the episode, Marcus was saying, you know, we don't have the same attitudes about business, but, you know, I'm, what did he say? I'm reservedly...
I know he said cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
I had to write it down because I liked it. Cautiously optimistic.
and I get that. And so, you know, kudos to him for being able to work with somebody that does have a different attitude about the business. But to the point, once again, where you said a failing business is the operative thing here. And so the business wasn't doing well. So let's take a look at the numbers.
Sure.
They had 50-50 ownership. The revenue was approximately $3 million.
Annually?
At the moment.
Okay.
At the moment, right? So it was like the last year was $3 million.
Okay.
Yeah. Howie claimed that $1 million of that came from knives. Right. I claimed.
He's got a one-track mind, is Howie.
Yeah. At first he's like, okay, $1 million came from knives. And here's what blew me away in the episode, what I really, really appreciated about Marcus. And, you know, I never cease to be amazed, even though sometimes my thinking is a little bit different. Like in this one, I'm like, if a guy can take 2 months off, have a business that's, you know, maintaining his lifestyle, you know, kudos, go for it. Yeah. I mean, if he could take 12 months off, fantastic.
Even better.
Right? Yeah. But in this, what Marcus said was that every square foot, one of the ways to look at improving and first of all measuring, and what we measure we can then improve. One of the measurements that we can do is to look at what is the profit or what are the sales per square foot. So when they've got a 4,000 square foot building, Marcus did the math and he said, okay, right now we're at approximately $750 in sales per square foot, which gave him the ability to then segment it and look at each segment and see which portions of the store were doing more sales than others. However, because nothing was categorized, no signage, it was just a mess.
Chaos, yes.
He had to clean up the chaos to get it categorized so that they could start running the metrics and start being even more effective at that. How he came by this, I mean, you know, it may just be Marcus's experience. It may be people on the show that are working with him together, but or a combination of both, which
Probably
is most
both,
likely, right? But I was awe-stricken, I'd say, by the brilliance in his ability to go in there, say, where the hell do you start? You know, it's like you're looking at a mess. How do we turn this to profits?
And one of the things he did is basically say, I want to get rid of all of this. Like, this is a money-making space, but it is not being optimized with the quality of the inventory that was in there and the layout of the inventory that was in there.
Right.
So his recommendation to them was get rid of it all. We're having a massive garage sale.
Yeah, but it was a massive garage sale, but he also had to figure out what categories they wanted to be in versus not. So while they went to liquidate inventory, they were also looking at, okay, let's look at the various categories that should be in the store. So let's look at chef wear, for example, aprons, and let's look at knives, and let's look at glassware, and let's see how much revenue is flowing from each place. And we've seen this before. We saw that recently in some of the clothing episodes and that type of thing.
Right. Is it the jeans? Is it the t-shirts?
What's selling? What's driving the machine rather than just guessing? And let's look at where the revenue is coming from so that we can begin to think, what do we want to keep versus not? So this was actually, Marcus said at the end, this was one of my biggest challenges, and I actually get why it was such a big challenge. It's like standing in a junkyard, looking around and going, where the hell do I start?
And then having two nasty dogs fighting each other while you're trying to do that.
Junkyard dogs, right? I like that. Look at that metaphor just translating over. Oh, boy.
What did you think of Robyn? Robyn, the wife, ex-wife, 50% business
I liked
partner.
Robyn. She seemed to be a really nice lady. I mean, it's so hard to tell in these hour-long episodes, but I think we got a window into her personality. I liked her. I think the way that they put both of these people across, because all we can glean is
the way it's
how
been
they were
edited.
positioned and
Sure,
edited.
of course.
But I mean, it's kind of like where there's smoke, there's fire. Who they are bleeds through.
Mm-hmm.
Howard seemed to be kind of the nonchalant kind of guy, just letting the thing run on its own. Robyn seemed to be the hard worker. She seemed very caring. She seemed
as though she had more passion for the business, at least on the surface for me.
Yeah. I don't think she also knew that Howard was going to come in, and no matter what she got passionate about, he was going to redo it, do it the way he wanted. He'd leave for a while, come back in, say it doesn't need to be that way. We need to move that out, put some more knives on the wall, get rid of the glassware. So, I do get Howard. The way he was displayed in this episode, I think, was as somebody who just doesn't care or wasn't really in the business. I think they would have been far better off just putting Robyn in charge and letting Howard be an investor.
I was going to say, let Howard take 12 months off. Let him. I agree with you. I think she really had a handle on how to merchandise.
Right.
On how to set up displays that were inviting to customers and buyers, and to really work with an experiential feel and introduce that into the store.
Right.
And she was there every day, all day.
Yeah.
And yet, the dynamic between her and Howard was one of him still being the boss, even though on paper it was 50-50.
But they knew that right at the beginning. Like in the very beginning, when they said 50-50, I thought, okay, we're going to have problems. Then Marcus says, who's in charge? And they both said, Howie's in charge.
Yeah.
So there was an understanding that he was the one that was in charge from the outset. Now, I found that dynamic a little interesting, because Marcus was pushing Robyn to take a stand for her positions in relationship with him, and to stand up to his domination of the store. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, because they both have already accepted that he's in charge, yet now Marcus is asking her to buck the system and speak out. But
I think Marcus was only doing that not to cause additional confrontation between the two of them, but because he did recognize that so many more of her ideas were better.
Right.
Right?
And so getting shot down, stopped.
The value add that he was missing.
Right.
And because of that, I think Marcus was really fueling her to sort of speak her mind, because he could see that whatever she was thinking was probably going to benefit his investment.
Agreed.
His being Marcus's.
Well, all of their investment, because obviously they wanted to grow. I mean, Marcus had the vision of having 20 of these open.
Sure.
And you see where they could really do that once they get the core store set up in a way that really works. And I mean, they're not that far off. They've got $3 million in revenue already.
That's pretty good.
Now the books here, I'll share with the viewers and everybody here. So they had when they first started, they said there was approximately $3,136,000 in revenue. Cost of goods was $1,381,000. So they had a gross profit of $1,755, and if you're not familiar with gross profit, that's what it costs to make it, prepare it, have it there. And we're not adding the marketing, we're not adding anything else except what does it cost you to produce what is going to be sold, to produce your inventory. So then there was a gross profit of $1,755,000, expenses of $1,876,000. So they had a loss, even though they had $3 million in revenue. They had a loss of $121,000 at the end of the day for the year. And they were leveraged out. They had loans that were outstanding.
The vendors were calling. Payroll was due.
Exactly. So payroll was $583,000. Rent was $405,000. Payables $196,000.
And probably some of those were overdue.
Right? Yeah. There was quite a bit that was overdue. Total debt was $492,000. And I think they had listed on their balance sheet an asset of a line of credit of $111,000, but Marcus pointed out that's not an asset.
Not an asset.
That's a liability.
Right.
Or it's nothing until it's used, right? And they had $32,000 cash in the bank.
That's it.
Which is it, with a payroll of $583,000.
On a business that generated $3 million in sales.
Right.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it's, I've been there before. I've been there before.
Yeah, where you're going, where did all the money go?
Right. Yeah. And having said that, Because here's the thing: when Marcus made his offer, and his offer was $350,000 for 40% of the business. They negotiated a bit. They didn't want to give up 40% because then between the two of the others,
they'd be left with 25 each.
Exactly. Let's see, 40. They'd be 30 each. But he didn't want each of them having a combined total equity that outpaced his own. Marcus didn't. So they ended up settling on 30-30-30. Which still gave them a combined equity of more. So
sure.
Yeah. So he gave up a third of the business. Marcus was going to get $350K. Ends up putting $400 in. Let's see here. And of course he's totally in charge as always. Right. So when Marcus was putting the money in, there was a little bit of a debate, and Howie says, if we don't take this deal, we'll just keep doing as we're doing. And Marcus said, no, you're not. You're going to be out of business. You're choking. And Howie said, we're not. We've been doing business. We've been in business this long. For 20 years, we'll do just fine. And Marcus made the point of saying, no, you're going to be out of business. Your doors are going to close unless you get somebody to write you this check for $350. I thought that was very interesting because what Marcus was talking about was getting their books clean, their debts, taken care of, and put everything into a perspective where they could really grow. I don't know that they would have been out of business the next week. I really don't, because they were making sales on a steady basis. But Marcus he kind of laid down the line, wake up, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're digging yourself into a trench.
You're digging yourself into a trench. And I think Marcus has the ability to look at it from a longer term perspective of the damage that's being done right now in the present.
Yes.
And
which makes him an astute businessman and makes him Marcus Lemonis and not Howard from Bowery Kitchen. No offense to Howard, but different level of business owner.
Well, he's able to see things that other people don't see, because it's like, he wouldn't know that he was digging himself a hole. But when you know the numbers, and that's why I think the numbers are the magic behind the business, because when you know the numbers, you can have a foresight and you can see into the future in ways that other people can't see into the future. Where is this headed based upon the way that they're living in the now?
Very profound.
Very profound. What do you do with that? So he gets the team, makes the deal. He gets a third of the business, pulls the team together as he always does, says he's going to be putting money in, going to put $350,000 in.
Marcus is always transparent. I like that about him. He wants to tell people right away what is happening. And I think communication in business, especially as it pertains to communication with employees, is incredibly important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And, when you think about the dysfunction at the level of the head relationship of the two people that are running the organization, what's that communicate to everybody?
Right. And what has it been communicating all this time, right?
Yeah, exactly. In terms of how to show up, how to, and we saw that Howie was there late most of the time, kind of came in when he wanted to come in, which I understand as well. I've been there as well. I get that.
Yes, but if you just went into business with a brand new partner,
that's the point.
Someone who's come in with cash on the table to save your butt,
right?
Would you not at least make the effort,
even
if it was just just to seem like you're making an effort,
right?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I know when I had my business, one of the things, my last business, I would, because I was working around the clock, my hours wouldn't reflect it. I didn't work 9 to 5 hours,
right, okay.
And nobody else on the team held my hours. So I was working. I had to make an extra special effort to go in and see the team and be there.
But that's because you were working at 11 p.m. You were probably up at 5. You were there on Saturday.
On a plane. I was in 3 different time zones in a week. It was like, it was really difficult to actually get in there and make my schedule mirror their schedule at all. Okay. But that was a mistake as well, because then things happened that I didn't know, outside of my awareness, because I got too
distracted. Well, not distracted,
too spread thin.
Right.
Too spread thin on the road.
But I don't think that was what was delaying Howard.
Definitely not. Howard's. But once again, we go through different phases of life. So I don't really make Howard wrong for taking the time off stuff. I don't. But there is a problem from a cash flow perspective. And when you've got $496,000 or $492,000 in debt, a payroll of 583 and only 32 in the bank, there's a problem.
Ouch.
There's a problem. Let's see. So Well, one thing I don't know if I'll point this out. I don't know if you caught this part, but he talked about anchors, and I like this.
Okay.
Marcus had mentioned that when in terms of segmenting the store, and getting with the proper signage where people knew where they were going, easy flow through, so people could walk through the store, stroll.
Yeah.
See, it's like you think of like you go into a supermarket, you see
Right, and you see canned
eggs,
goods, or you know where you're going. There's a little organization.
Exactly.
Sure.
And what he pointed out here was that they would have anchors, category anchors in each of those places. So you'd have a display, for example, and we saw it at the end when the aprons, the chef's aprons, and they had a brand name that he mentioned. Tillet, is it? T-I-L-E-T. Tillet. He said that was the brand anchor for the chefware department. And his point is that if you take a well-known brand and you anchor it into that particular category, that particular aisle, then the well-known function of that brand can have a halo effect.
Right, over all the other brands that you're stocking.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of genius in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not have thought of it that way, but I get it.
Like if I'm a chef and I know that Tillet chef jackets are sort of the Toomey of luggage, or the in comparison,
exactly.
or whatever the brand, the Rolex of
Toomey
watches.
was great, or
right?
Yeah.
Then and I know that you stock the Rolex of watches.
Then it gives you faith in the rest.
I would go there, and even if I don't buy the Tillet or the Rolex or the Toomey, it would drive me to your store and give me the option to see whatever else.
And
you
I
have.
immediately, the moment he brought that concept in, I immediately thought of Nordstrom, because we live, Nordstrom. I used to live right down the street from Nordstrom. It's not really right down the street, but when you go in there, I'll always see. I used to only wear Xenia suits. Like Xenia was my brand,
amazing.
right? That was, and the reason why was because Warren Buffett only wore Xenias.
I used to love the cologne.
Yeah, I like the cologne.
I loved the cologne for men.
The suits were actually a really bad cut on me, but I wanted to wear Xenias because then Hugo Boss was a much better cut for me.
Okay.
But I would only buy Xenia. But they have, like, when you go in there, the Xenias are like right there, prominent on the display case, and they're out front, and it's an expensive suit. It's between $2,000 and $4,000, maybe just some up to $6,000 per suit. But they have all the other suits that are in there as well. So you see that idea of the brand anchor in a store like that.
And what it does too is it really helps to raise the overall perceived value of the store itself.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's a branding exercise, not just for the other product there, but for the store.
Right. Absolutely.
So let's see here. We've got the knife business. I just keep looking at that. So what Marcus had pointed out was that they needed a merchandising plan or a planogram, he called it. We've heard him use that term before. Do you remember that?
The planogram. I think it's an interesting term. It's a creative term.
Yeah, it must be the term that's used in the industry.
Sure.
Because I remember there was the episode we were watching where a show that they did a little while back where the woman had asked the store to change the way that they had her products stocked in the shelves. Do you remember that?
I don't remember what product we were talking about. I think it was the wasn't it the bathtub cleaning supplies?
It's sounding
Maybe?
right. It's something like that.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, and he said, and he actually went to one of the people in the store. He said, "Can I see the planogram?" And so on the planogram, they had that her product was lower on the shelf, on a singular shelf, rather than being spread throughout the shelf. She wanted to give the illusion that they were doing better than they were. So the planogram must be the common term in the retail industry for how they stock the
shelves.
How they stock the shelves, and now we get insight into how one would do that if one had with.
There you go. So if you're opening up a store, folks, get yourself a planogram. Take the time to draw one up.
Yeah, and also be thinking of the brand anchors.
Very special tip, that one.
Yeah, I think
it's great. Yeah.
So
and this is why I love this show, because there are so many business elements that you could absorb and become aware of.
Me?
I think you should open a business.
Okay, there you go. I should open a business. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I interrupted your thought.
No, that's all right.
But that's because I love this show.
It's rare that I have a thought, so I'm not going to, I'm joking. So, so the planogram, and then how they stock it. I think there was so much to learn in this episode about that, in terms of the categorization, in terms of the signage, in terms of the cleanup, because he had such a huge cleanup to do inside this store. They also went on to to liquidate the product that because they had inventory that had been sitting there for years
For
that had not moved.
that hadn't sold. Like, why not just get rid of it?
Yeah, so he does a sale and he puts $1 on some of the products. Buy this for $1.
This was the giant garage sale.
$5.
Yes.
You get the $5 table, the dollar table, and the moment he puts that up, Howie starts running around saying, "I'm not selling that for $1. I'm not selling that for $5." But these are products that hadn't moved in years.
Right. So I think Howard was a bit of a hoarder.
Yeah.
Would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
I could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a hoarder, and also, again, because there was an emotional investment for Howard in the business, we see it time and time again. It's always hard for these business owners to see their products, their dreams,
Right.
their effort being pushed out the door.
And for sure. And the thing is that that's got to be tough. That's totally comprehensible.
Absolutely.
We get that.
Yeah, I get it.
You didn't get into business because you wanted to be an employee. You didn't get into business because you didn't want to have say.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so
it's got to be very hard when Marcus comes in and takes over for a period of time, 100% control.
And we don't even know if it's for a
This
period
is
of time. We
tough,
don't know how
right?
long that 100% control goes on. That's the one thing that we don't know, and that's the
I'm
question
sure they
that
negotiate that per business.
Marcus, if you're watching, could you let us know?
We would love to know. Somebody
Is-
on the Profit team.
Yeah, or anybody from the Profit. Could you let us know? Is the 100% control, is that for good at that point, or is it for a period of time that's just kind of a momentum
Predetermined. Yeah.
period?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm curious. I
Yeah, we are
and
curious.
They may not tell us because it may be deal per deal, and they don't.
You know what? Just let us know then that it is deal per deal.
and
we don't
they
need
may
the
not even want to say
details.
that
Interesting,
because
right.
then everybody's going to try to negotiate differently. So they start to liquidate things. They get rid of the crap and stuff going for $1, $5. But what they found was that even when they priced some of that crap for $1, nobody was buying
No one was
it.
buying it. It was terrible.
It does tell you.
But they did. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it just tells you what's worth keeping versus what's not worth keeping, and where they really want to place their efforts.
But they did come away with $300,000 for that inventory. I would be curious, and I'm sure somebody did
That's
run
in the
the numbers.
liquidation, yeah.
How much the original book value was on that product?
You know what?
I mean, I'm sure it was 3 times that
yeah,
at
of
a
course.
minimum.
Oh, probably much more.
Probably
and
$2 million worth of inventory there.
There's always going to be a loss if they do a liquidation like that. I get it. Like I had in my storage shed, I found like literally, I see, I'm as bad as they are because he's like, if you don't know how much inventory you have, and I don't know how much inventory was inside there, I could have every excuse in the world. But I mean, like we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of product, my product that was inside the storage shed, just huge.
Yeah.
And I had to actually get a house that was much bigger than what I wanted in order to take the storage sheds and put this product in and figure out what I had. But at the point where you've got all that inventory that was very clearly misordered, not thought about, just a
Not
mess. Not marketed.
Right.
For me to try to cry over spilt milk is like, okay, it's.
And so that's the thing, is you just have to cut your losses, pull the Band-Aid, and move on to the next chapter.
Do it. Yeah, I mean,
and it hurts. It does hurt.
And it helps at the right time. I did a fire sale online, sent an email, and had made 70 grand in 48 hours.
Woo.
And it's like,
Can I bring you to my house so we can do that with all the stuff that I don't want?
but I'll tell you that 70 grand in 48 hours, I mean, if you were to look at what was the real market value of the product and when it was bought, or even what it cost us a lot more than that for the packaging, the product packaging and stuff. But when you need it and when you realize you've made a big mistake, when the wake up call comes, that's that's a great thing. So to do the liquidation like that is like fantastic.
Right.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Let's stock what we want and need. But we got about 5 minutes left here, so let us take a look at.
So they cleared out everything from the warehouse.
Look at how you picked that up.
I'm a good co-host.
You're all over it. Look, she has.
But what they did though is, in addition to getting rid of all of the inventory, they got rid of all of the fixtures. Like he just got rid of everything.
Yes.
And cleaned it out and redesigned the entire
What did you think
space.
about his new fixtures for the lighting and stuff?
Oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. For anyone that may not have seen the episode, they got very creative. Back to what I was saying about experiential customer.
Marcus does this a lot.
Yeah,
right?
customer experiences. What they did, for example, was for pots and pans, they actually hung pots and pans and had the lights inside. So
strainers,
just really cool kitchenware that was used as fixtures,
Very,
and
very
again,
cool.
just made it fun and cheeky, and
That's part of he's brought that to the plate. Remember the catering company he had done that with, where he brought in various aspects of whatever business they were catering for.
And they've done that with some of the pet stores, right?
Pet stores.
Sure. I think it's a great little idea.
It's magic. It adds magic to the experience.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So he also took them, as always, to some of the leading companies, some of the competitors or leading companies in various aspects of the business. They went to a glassware company, and Howie was convinced that the glassware, there was no money in that, and this glassware company did. Do you remember how much?
They had one wall about the size of this wall behind us, and they had done $5 million in sales
$5 million
off of just
annually.
that one wall of glassware.
Yeah.
So Robyn was the one pushing to have a glass wall.
This is the wife. So Robyn, the wife is.
And Howard had been vetoing this. No, 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 no. So when they went together with Marcus, the three of them, to the glasses area. And found out that this one wall had generated $5 million in sales. Howard started walking away, and Marcus said to him, no. You come back here and you listen to how much revenue is potentially in this product.
Right.
And so Robyn went back to the store and built a glassware
There you
wall.
go. And she did a great job of
With
it.
different types of glasses, shot glasses, bowls, red wine, white wine, all of that.
Beakers.
Sure, lots of fun stuff.
It looked like a chemistry lab, but in a nice and elegant way.
Right.
In the end, they ended up having a bit of an intervention, if you will, where Marcus had to pull both Robyn, the wife, to the side, Howie to the side, and talk to them really about the way that they interrelated more than anything else, about Howie's lack of respect for her ideas and about her not stepping up.
Yeah.
There was, when Marcus said that he was cautiously optimistic. He said he actually used that term a couple of times because he thought, well, maybe we had a breakthrough here, and he was right in being hesitant about when he said maybe, because Howie said, okay, we're all good now, and then he kisses Robyn on the cheek, and you don't quite buy it. Marcus didn't quite buy it.
Right.
I didn't quite buy it. You didn't quite buy it, I'm sure.
But I do think Howard was made at least somewhat aware that his behavior needed to change.
It was a step in the right direction.
And he was trying, sort of.
It was a step in the right
So
direction.
overall, they've got a great new space, great new product. Hopefully, a better relationship between the two owners.
And they have a POS system that they put in place
To track the inventory.
Point of sale
Yeah.
that tracks the inventory. It's a combination of a database and tracking of the inventory. It's got everything in there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you scan it and the number goes into the system, and that you've got 10 of these left, and if you sell one, there's 9 of them left.
So they'll never have to guess again.
Right.
It's also where you keep your client database and all of that and all the people, so you can mail out to them and all sorts of stuff and offer gifts and incentives and big
So if anyone
sales.
is in New York and you're going to be at Chelsea Market this weekend, go check them out.
Check it out,
Bowery
for
Kitchen
sure.
Supplies store.
Yes, and if anybody from Bowery is on here, reach out to us, and you can
tweet us when my phone gets fixed.
Yeah, you can tweet us.
But do tweet us. We'll check them after the show.
We'd love to have you on the show, and we want to get some of these businesses on the show so we can hear how they're doing.
Absolutely.
And,
call us. Let us know how you're doing after the fact.
And I think with that we'll wrap, because we got
wrapped.
52 seconds to do this. Watch how we do
We're
this.
on the countdown. All right.
So Katerina Cozias.
All right, thanks everyone for being with us. I'm Katerina Cozias, again on Instagram and Twitter at Katerina Cozias, and we will see you November 15th.
Beautiful. Oh yes, we're not coming back till November 15th. Remember that, and it's not because we don't love you, it's because there's no show. Because Marcus is taking 3 weeks off.
Time off.
I'm Chris Howard. You can reach me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. You can also go to legendarylivingdaily.com for daily tips, motivation, inspiration, entrepreneurial stuff, and legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube. Remember to download the podcast. Find us on iTunes. You can download that podcast there, and you can get us intravenously drip fed to you with all the episodes. And with that, I'll say over and out, and we will see you on November 15th.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.